What's up guys, welcome back to another episode of Christianforce. Today's drawing is fun. We got Jesus parachuting from the sky and our guy Mr. Sheep free falling with pure joy. So I thought, what better way to talk about surrender and obedience than falling from the sky, right? But seriously, today we're diving into the story of Jonah, a prophet who didn't jump into God's plan but ran from it, straight into a storm, a fish, and eventually surrender. So while we draw, let's talk about what we can learn from his wild journey. So quick recap from the story. God tells Jonah to go to Nineveh. Now, Nineveh was like that city you don't even want to drive though, full of wickedness, but instead of obeying, Jonah straight up books a ticket to Tarshish. Hopefully I'm saying that right, but that's the complete opposite direction. It's like God said, go right, and Jonah hit a hard left. Why'd he run? Fear, pride, discomfort? Honestly, probably all three. And if we're real, how many times has God told us to do something and we ran in the opposite direction? Maybe not physically, but spiritually, emotionally, creatively. Okay, so Jonah's on this boat, thinking he's in the clear, and bam, a storm hits. Not just any storm either, the kind of storm that makes seasoned sailors freak out. God's not petty, but he is persistent. The storm wasn't to punish Jonah, it was to reroute him. Sometimes what feels like chaos in our life is actually God's mercy trying to wake us up. Like, hey, you're going the wrong way. Have you ever felt like you were in the middle of a storm, not because life just sucks, but because God is trying to get your attention? Yeah, same. If so, we can relate. So Jonah finally admits, this storm's on me. They toss him overboard and cue the fish. 3 days in the belly of a giant fish. I used to think that's wild, but now I see that fish, that was grace. God could have left him in the sea, but instead he gave him a weird but safe place to repent. Sometimes we get swallowed up in uncomfortable situations, not to destroy us, but to pause us long enough for us to reflect. Jonah prays, raw, honest, broken, and then boom, he gets spit out right back on track. Because even when we run from God, he doesn't run from us. Now after that, Jonah finally goes to Nineveh, tells them what God said, and they actually repent. Now you think Jonah would be thrilled, right? Nope. He's mad. He wanted justice, not mercy. Here's the truth. Sometimes we obey God and things still don't feel easy. Obedience isn't about comfort. It's about trust. Sometimes God asks us to go somewhere or do something that stretches us. Forgive someone, start that project, quit that habit, speak truth, and it's scary. But God doesn't call us to things that makes us comfortable. He calls us to things that makes us faithful. So what can we take away from Jonah's story? You can run, but God will still pursue you. Obedience is better than comfort. God cares about people you may not understand or like. Your lowest point can still lead to your calling, and God's grace doesn't run out even when we mess up. Let Jonah's story be a reminder. Don't wait for the storm or the fish. Just say yes now. You never know what kind of adventure God has on the other side of your obedience. Jonah isn't a Bible character. He's a reflection of us. God said go, and Jonah said nope. How many times have you felt that nudge in your spirit? That whisper that says reach out to them, start that ministry, forgive that person, let go of that sin. And instead of leaning in, you hit the escape button. You scroll, you ghost God, you distract yourself. Jonah ran because he didn't want to obey. And if we're being honest, sometimes we don't either. Not because we don't love God, but because we want control. But here's the thing, running from God doesn't lead you to peace. It leads you into storms. Obedience will always cost you something. Jonah thought avoiding God would be simple. Buy a ticket, catch a boat, cruise into peace, but instead he bought himself a seat to a storm. Disobedience always comes with a price. Sometimes it's peace, sometimes it's time, sometimes it's relationships, and sometimes it's just the weight of knowing you're not where you're supposed to be. The storm wasn't random, it was God's pursuit. Not to destroy Jonah, of course, but to redirect him. You ever felt like things were just off, like no matter what you do, there's no peace, no momentum, no clarity? Sometimes that's not the enemy. That's God saying, come back, you're going the wrong way. The fish wasn't punishment, it was protection. Now here's the part of the story people think is crazy. The fish. But what looks like punishment is actually God's protection. Jonah is drowning, literally, and God sends a giant fish to rescue him. God will sometimes let us sink just low enough for us to realize we can't save ourselves. And then he sends grace that doesn't always look like grace. Maybe your fish is a setback. Maybe it's something that's forcing you to sit still for the first time in forever. That space in the belly, it was sacred. Uncomfortable? Yes. Tight? Definitely. But it gave Jonah the silence to cry out and return to God. So maybe the thing you're frustrated with right now is the very thing that God is using to bring you back. Even after we run, God still chooses us. The moment Jonah repents, the fish spits him out and God says, go to Nineveh. Same mission, same calling, nothing changed. You think God would say, you messed up, I'm picking someone else. But no, he still wanted Jonah. Why? Because God's calling isn't based on your perfection. It's based on his purpose. You might feel like your disobedience disqualified you, that you're too far gone, that God can't use you now. But hear this loud and clear. God doesn't change his mind about you. The gifts, the call, the assignment, they're still yours. Obedience might be hard, but it's worth it. So Jonah finally goes, he preaches, and the people of Nineveh, the worst of the worst, actually repent. That's the kind of stuff that should make you leap for joy. But Jonah was mad. Why? Because he wanted justice, not mercy. And here's what we learn. Even when we obey, our hearts might still need healing. God doesn't just want your yes. He wants your transformation. And sometimes obeying God will take you into places that stretch you. To love people who are hard to love. To forgive people who don't deserve it. To show mercy when you want revenge, to surrender control when you crave it. But obedience isn't about you being comfortable. It's about God's will being done. Now, what are you running from? Let's bring it back. Jonah ran from Nineveh. Where are you running from? What's your Nineveh? Is it the conversation you don't want to have? The dream you're scared to chase? The person you need to forgive? The purpose God's been calling you to step into? Here's the truth. You can run, but you'll never outrun grace. God will chase you into storms. He'll sit with you in the fish, and he'll still whisper, let's try again. Because your story isn't over and your calling isn't canceled. It's just waiting for your surrender. So maybe today's the day you stop running and you start walking in obedience, in trust, in freedom. If this message hit home, if you've been running, if you've been wrestling, I want to encourage you. Don't wait for the storm to get worse. Don't wait for the fish. Just say, yes, Lord. You don't have to have it all together. You just have to stop running. And that's the journey of Jonah. Not because perfection, but about the power of returning. Let God use you. He's not done writing your story. God will ask you to do hard things. Don't expect his instructions to always feel safe. Expect them to grow you. Delayed obedience is still obedience. Okay, so if today's video spoke to you, let me know in the comments. And hey, if you ever feel like Jonah, you're not alone, but God's still writing your story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who might need it. Now, if there's any topic that you would like me to discuss for next video, make sure you leave it in the comments below. And as always, stay fluffy, stay silly, and stay strong in the faith. Peace and blessings.